Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to what is the first edition of Plataforma Talks. Basically, what we want to start doing on a yearly basis is a model of informal talks on various topics related with the bridges that Macau intends to develop in the coming years, namely with the Portuguese-speaking countries. As some of you know, Plataforma has been dedicated to this since day one. And in almost 10 years, we are going to do 10 years in May, we have established more than 30 protocols with media brands all over the world, but more with China and Portuguese-speaking countries to further enhance the comprehension in different communities and outlets. In the last years, we have also started to explore the Asian markets, and so we have established more protocols with media brands from Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and more, focusing on content exchange, but also working towards what we think might be mutually beneficial for all of us, which is the financial sustainability of our medias. With that in mind, we decided to inaugurate Plataforma Talks with the topic of promoting Macau via global media networks. And for that reason, we invited João Francisco Pinto, the Director of Information of TDM's Portuguese and English channels, and who has been responsible for various agreements between TDM and other media within China and Portuguese-speaking countries. And on our right side, we have Kevin Ho, which is a shareholder of one of the largest media groups in Portugal, Global Media Group, and has also been carrying his fair share of international operations through Macau, most of them. At the end, we'll try to reserve some time for questions from our audience, and starting with those who are here in Fundação Rui Cunha, and then moving on to those who are watching us through social media. I would like to thank Fundação Rui Cunha for co-organizing this event. We hope this is just one of many. And in order to contextualize a little bit the scope of the debate, as you know, Macau is seen by China as the perfect gateway to the Portuguese-speaking countries. There are many things that make Macau special, and we can talk about, for example, the fact that the Portuguese language is an official language of the Macau government. The people understand the culture of China and also of the Portuguese-speaking countries better than most of the other regions. And it has been promoting the education of bilingual talents in schools and in universities. In this debate, what we want to focus on is what are the media doing to help Macau in their efforts to be an international city, namely by creating links to the Portuguese-speaking countries, and how media can actually play a role by creating a common ground in a world that is becoming increasingly divided. Kevin, I would like to start with you, and of course with the topic of the moment, which is global media, right? We understand that global media is going through a transition process. I would like you to explain what has been your experience in the group. What can we know about the future of the media group, and of course, if you will be involved in it.
All right. First of all, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be back here. And sorry because of me, then it's being English now. Otherwise, I'm sure you'll be Portuguese.
No, everything will be in English.
But thank you. And when I first got the invitation and I accepted to be a guest tonight, global media's news wasn't even on, so I didn't know that it becomes the hottest topic and everybody wants to know now. I entered into global media, well, my company, K&J Investment, entered in the global media business late 2017. We signed the deal on our last Minister Forum back then, and the next forum is coming soon. It has been changing, it has been evolving since day one. I entered the company day one, my shareholders, my partners, and my partners now has changed 3 times over the course of 5 years. So it's not only this time that we are always encouraging new people, new fund, new resources to come into the group. Every time people come in, we have some dreams, we have some plans. Of course, some work, some doesn't, which is natural in the business world. This time, because it's been more sensitive, I think, in the local political scene, so people start to be more aware of a deal. We actually have been talking constantly with different people inside Portugal, outside Portugal, China, Macau, for a better future for the group, as all business people will do. So now, all I can say, which I have also talked to the media earlier, is yes, we have entered ourselves into a new negotiations. We have signed a memorandum of understanding with a potential new investor of global media. But it's all deals comes into different, when you have a deal, there are different options. Not necessarily through a capital increase or buying some people's shares. This time we may be cooperating on a different scope, but things are still immature. So at this point, I don't want to give you too many unconfirmed situations, but I think the deal will be, if it happens, will be a good deal for all our employees, for all our brands, and for the global media group as a whole.
Okay. And seeing that when you started this project, of course, you had something in mind for the development. And in this sense, what did you see that Macau could give to the project? And on the other hand, what could the project give to Macau?
Obviously, when I started back in 2017, 2018, well, we all have a dream. We wanted to go into a new industry, go into a new country. That was my first investment in Portugal. Subsequently, I have a couple more. It was a golden opportunity that there is a place where we can enter into the group, into the media scene, hoping to further explore Macau as a platform between China and Portuguese-speaking countries. Of course, after we entered, there are too many other things that has happened throughout the course of my 5-6 years now, and especially all the plans that we wanted to do because of different issues. Not to mention, we have the shareholders, not only me, but all our shareholders have collectively reduced the debt of the whole global media group from over 50 million to 0 with the banks. So we are now a clean, debt-free place with the banks, at least. I think this puts us into the most healthy media group in the country. However, the plan that I had is exactly what the topic is. We wanted to use Macau as a hub for the Portuguese-speaking countries to link themselves, pretty much like USA, but in a private commercial way, to be more business-oriented between China, because we see there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of potentials to bring business intelligence, to bring products, to bring talents between our 250 million population and China. So we have worked a lot on planning. And because of the different financial situations, human resources situations, and most importantly, the 3 years of COVID did stop a lot of things. The COVID doesn't only stop us from going into, doesn't even stop us from making further plans on my project. Because of the COVID and all other different issues, stopped the group from operating in a normal way. So imagine now that in 2023, things seem to be back into normal, but we are facing all other different issues with Russia, Ukraine, now with Israel. So we are still very confident in the years to come that Macau will still play a very important role to link the 250 million Portuguese-speaking country people and the 1.4 billion Chinese citizens to further cooperate in all different ways. And Macau has been missioned to be the platform between the two entities. We have very successfully built ourselves into a world leisure tourist hub. But as a platform, I think we can still have a lot of room to grow.
Mm-hmm. And speaking on the link between China and the Portuguese-speaking countries, João, we understand that the cultures are very different, right? And even in the Portuguese-speaking countries, there's a lot of differences that we can acknowledge, right? And the media have this capacity of widening the gap between the cultures or shorten it. How do you think that local media can actually shorten this gap, given that because of our heritage and because of the culture that we embrace already, how can we actually help with this?
Well, thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. Indeed, media can either bridge the gap or widen it. It is obvious. But what one of the important things we can do, and what CRED-DM has been doing by sharing content, is to show, in this case, especially to the Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, what is China like today? Because ignorance is probably worse than knowing each other. It's much worse than knowing each other. So we have been doing this since 2014. We started in 2014 when we signed a series of agreements with public service TV stations of the Portuguese-speaking countries. We had one with RTP since, well, 1980, so that one doesn't really count because it is historical and it is the foundation of what is now CRED-DM. And we still keep this special relation with RTP in Portugal. But we work to establish that relation with the Portuguese-speaking countries in 2014, 2015, signing the agreements. And our idea was that, Macau being a platform, we need to show China to this country. So what we did at that time was to procure excellent documentaries produced in mainland China, to translate it and subtitle it in Portuguese, and then to acquire the rights for those countries. And that's
sorry, who does the translation? CRED-DM?
No, we don't have resources for that. So we commissioned the translation to outside third-party companies to do that job, because in-house we don't have the capacity to do that kind of translations at the massive scale that we were doing at the time. And so those TV programs were sent, they were broadcast. So that gave the audiences of those TV stations a first glimpse into what was China like. And China in 2013 is different from what it is now. Very different, very different. This process was interrupted in around 2015, 2016, and it was resumed now in 2022. Again, with the same model, showing China. But it is a completely different China, and I'm sure Kevin agrees with me. 2013 China is not 2023 China. It's a completely different country. And again, we sourced excellent documentaries, focusing mostly on documentaries, because documentaries, public service TVs have several roles: to inform, to entertain, and to educate. A lot of people think education is, classes on TV. No, education is documentaries, telling about the history, culture, nature, scientific progress, scientific achievements, So we went after those programs that talked about Chinese tea culture, the great infrastructure works that have been done in China over the past few years. It's kind of a TV program. So again, translated, subtitled, and also this time dubbed, because we understood that for some countries, dubbing it in Portuguese was more important than having it subtitled. There's a lot of people who still can't read Portuguese or have a difficult understanding of reading Portuguese. So by dubbing it makes it a lot easier. And so this is a step we are taking in order to bring people closer together, to erase misconceptions about China in the Portuguese-speaking countries, to show what China is like today. And obviously this is a minor very, very small step. We cannot say, oh, we have achieved. No, but at least it's the contribution that TDM is doing to bring people together and so that everybody can have a better understanding.
Okay, and there's been a Portuguese exodus due to the pandemic and some political reforms. And I'm wondering if this affects this cultural bridge that we have in Macau, and if media is also affected by it.
Well, media was obviously affected because there were media professionals who left Macau in the past few years. Also, local media, private local media in Portuguese language have faced some financial problems. And thus they also had to become a little bit slimmer. Let's put it like this. But for instance, now we in TDM we are in the process of hiring people. So we have and for the first time last year we recruited professional journalists, not just in Portugal but also open to the Portuguese-speaking countries. And actually. We have in December we have a journalist from Cape Verde who joined our radio. So he came from the Cape Verde National Radio, and he wanted to. He was accepted, and he is now working with us. And so in that sense, you know, we are also yes, a lot of people left, but a lot of people will be coming in. You know, for now it's a small group, but. I'm sure that as time goes by, as Macau progresses, as this concept that we need to have this core of Portuguese professionals here to deliver their expertise and to, to give really strong basis to the platform, more professionals will join us in the future, and that will make us more capable of delivering our mandate.
And you mentioned that you hired a Cape Verdean journalist, and usually it was more like from Portugal, the journalist. Do you believe that this also helps TDM or other media to be more involved and understand a little bit better what is the reality of the African Portuguese-speaking countries?
Definitely, and I defended personally that we should hire, when we hire, of course, first we hire locally, but the pool of resources, of human resources in Macau is limited. Therefore, we cannot fulfill all our vacant positions with local journalists because simply they are not here. And I've defended over the years that, well, if Macau is the platform between China and the Portuguese-speaking countries, then we should also integrate in TDM professionals from Portuguese-speaking countries, because this gives us the capacity to better also understand. So our colleague Nélio dos Santos, who is working with us since December, when he works, he obviously puts his culture into what he does, and it also changes and brings TDM closer to, for instance, we would not probably be looking so much into news of Cape Verde or Angola. Nélio also worked in Angola before, but Nélio having worked in Angola and Cape Verde, you know, he will sense the news from there, and he will understand how to better deliver those news. You know? So this is also important. It's an important step. It's not just exporting content. It's also bringing in people. And if you allow me, this we have had the responsibles of several TV stations here in September last year, and we discussed what to do next. And one of the things they ask us is give us training, because well, for instance, Mozambique, they told us we have a lot of trainers coming in from South Africa, but we need trainers with a different approach, with a different language, with a different capacity to engage with us, because we already know South Africans. They won't change, and they won't change coming from here, from Macau. So they would like us to go there and provide training in specific areas where we can do it. And they believe that by training them, and this is really also important, we also share what we are. We share what we are, and we can bridge this gap.
Kevin, you are not only a media investor, you are also a representative of Macau in the National People's Congress. So I believe you have a different insight of this problem. So what can you tell us about it?
First of all, I think the term is a heavy one. I don't consider it an exodus. Macau is a free place. People come in, people go. If there is a job, they stay. If there is a life that they like about this place, that they stay. Over the COVID years, a lot of places changed significantly. The ways of how we live, the way how we work changed a lot. Not to mention only China, not to mention only Macau. As you can see, if you go into all other big cities, people left city life and moved to a more remote area because technology allows them to do work at home. Because of the 3 years, people are used to having meetings on computers, on phones, instead of face-to-face. The term that you've mentioned, I have to say, sorry, but I strongly disagree because the percentage of Portuguese people in Macau that has left during these few years, and compared to the percentage of all the nationals, expats leaving Macau, I think that's a bigger number because we all know business went down, people has to lay off. We cannot afford to have the same quantity of people, and because of the way we worked, a lot of businesses, not only on the media sector, not only on the Portuguese crowd, we can see a lot of people, a lot of shops closed. Economy went down. This is a fact. So I think there's a number that I can share with you. Not in Macau, in Shanghai. Shanghai over the last few years, they were telling me when a lot of different numbers, a lot of different unofficial statistics said more than 10 million, 15 million of people has left Shanghai. But over the year 2023, an influx of 6 million is already back in Shanghai. So you know when there is place that when the city comes back with jobs, opportunities, people will come back. We can see 2023 Macau. Of course, Macau is a small city. We all know that tourism has rebounded fairly nicely. The official numbers are not out yet, but if you look at Macau's GDP growth in 2023, the most conservative analysis is 85%. There is no place in the world that we can achieve such growth. As the economy gets warmer, as there is need for more people, I'm sure we can see in the last 3 months there are a lot more foreign nationals walking around the streets. I can see it easily, and that includes Portuguese, that includes people from Portuguese-speaking countries. So I think it's not only, and there's no political reform here.
Okay.
So I think we should be very clear. We don't mix a lot of things because we see, we close down our country, we close down our city, so people leave. Normal, because if we cannot face it, people has a choice. So now that we are reopened, maybe they will come back, and we have new people coming back.
So you think it's just a matter of time for the talent to come back? And of course, I mentioned Portuguese as a micro too. The macro is the foreign talent that we need to come. We need them to come to Macau.
I would not guess whether the people who left will come back, but I'm sure people will be back. Either there are new people who wants to try out the Macau life. If we can build the stronger platform that we have designed ourselves to be, there would naturally be a lot more Portuguese-speaking countries, people coming to work here to build a bridge between China and Portuguese-speaking countries. So we work together, we can work very hard together to maintain this platform that Macau has been designed to build.
Okay. João, do you think that the media can be part of this endeavor as well?
Yes, I'm sure it can, because previously I mentioned this dimension of documentaries, right? But we plan to add another dimension to our cooperation, and what we are going to do as soon as possible is to establish a news exchange platform for TV stations, in which the idea is that all the TV stations, public service TV stations, not commercial, public service TV stations, would share content, news about their countries, which then can be used by others. Because many times we are, as a journalist, we resort to a news agency to provide us the basic information in which we build on our news. That news agency is located somewhere, usually not in the country where it's reporting. Its headquarters is not there. So in terms of TV, we have Reuters, Associated Press, France Press. Well, yes, they have offices there, but what they do reflects the mindset, a certain mindset which is not in those countries. And our idea is that who better to speak about us than ourselves? Who better can speak about Macau than, in terms of TV, than TDM? Who better can speak about Angola than TPA? And Cape Verde, the same thing. So our idea is we are now working on the technological infrastructure that will support this news exchange project. This is something also that came from those September meetings. We would like to share our own news. And we have already heard here bilingual talents. We now have, TDM has recently hired 4 bilingual journalists, precisely they will help us on this, because they will be able to create news content which reflects, and these bilingual talents, they studied in Portugal, so they already have been influenced by the Portuguese culture. They are not just trained in Macau, so they already have lived in another culture, so they have drink that culture, breathe that culture, and they will help us in this project of creating meaningful news content, which will be able to showcase, in this case, mostly Macau in these countries, and then in this pool, everyone uses what they want, but they will be sure to that is the best story that can be told about each place, because each journalist in each place knows better than anyone else what they are doing.
What is the stage that you're in?
We are working on the technological platform, and then it will have to be tested, and then we will start this project of exchanging news.
Okay. Speaking in the ease of access of information, for example, Macau and China, they want to promote the Greater Bay Area, as we all know. And there's many news here in Macau about the Greater Bay Area, but we don't see that often in Portuguese-speaking countries, for example. And also some foreign journalists here in Macau complain that they don't have access even to Henshin, which is a depth cooperation zone. A joint cooperation by Macau government and from the Guangdong government. Do you think that this is an issue that needs to be tackled?
Ideally, yes, but by having local journalists born in Macau of Chinese nationality, we managed to overcome this problem. And also in TDM, we have a kind of a huge advantage, which is we have a Chinese newsroom, which operates in a more or less freely. And even more than that, we have now a newsroom in Nanjing, which opened last month. So with this newsroom in Nanjing, which aims to cover the Greater Bay Area, we can source all the information, bring it to Macau, work that information here, and then make it available. So TDM is really in a unique position, because sometimes a lot of people go, TDM Portuguese channel. No, it's not TDM Portuguese. Portuguese channel, Canal Macau, is a brand. But behind the brand, there are different newsrooms working together. We share all our resources. I know what my Chinese colleagues are doing. I can see their pictures. Every footage they collect, I see it. Every script they write, I read it. With some software to help me translate it, of course. But I read it. So I know exactly what they are doing, and they know exactly what I'm doing. You know? So this is a huge convenience in terms of having access to more information about Engine. Almost every day, we now have in our Portuguese and English news a news about Engine or the Greater Bay. This is not done by the Portuguese or English newsroom here. This is our collective effort inside CRED-DM to produce meaningful content and to pull together the resources to do more.
But then comes the part of internationalizing, right? So how can we promote this local produced news and export it to the Portuguese-speaking countries, but not only, of course, to the rest of the world?
This is exactly a key point that we should discuss tonight among all media friends here. Greater Bay Area. Well, you said it's not well known to the world. Well, Macau, of course, we face Greater Bay Area every day, so we know what it's about. But I'm sure the world knows about Guangzhou. The world knows about Shenzhen. So they're part of the global area. Everyone knows about Hong Kong, right? The key is media has a role itself. Looser news report, for example, 2 pieces of news about Greater Bay Area on a particular day. And then they have news from Angola. They have news from Portugal. There are too many news nowadays for a particular place to decide which one that they want to show you, the readers. Media, even though, let's say, I'm talking about genuine media who has no agendas, we are facing with, for example, maybe 10,000 pieces of news on a particular moment. And how can you fit everything to your media or to your audience? So you picked, or AI picked for you. Imagine you guys going back home tonight. Either you use a Chinese phone, either you use iPhone or Android. Look up, somehow CRED-DM will come up. Global media will come up, I'm sure. It depends on how people react to the news. And if we collectively, especially our Portuguese-speaking countries' media, at least will look further into Greater Bay Area and its potentials, then it continues from the 250 million people, and then from the Portuguese-speaking countries, we can extend to the South American allies, to the European people. CRED-DM, of course, is doing the job. Macau Daily is doing the job. But if you want us to be globally recognized, we still have to rely on the big news, Reuters, AP, in the Portuguese-speaking world, Lusa. Macau is a place. Greater Bay Area is 9 cities plus 2 SARs. We need to be significant and make people choose our news. There are plenty of news. Even Macau, Macau Daily or CRED-DM. I'm sure you have to make choices on what to go on your news program every day because you have to choose. Media has a job that if we want collectively to do this, then we all have to do a part on it.
And global media, you speak on Macau Daily News, and global media recently signed a protocol with Macau Daily News and now has a weekly publication, I believe,
Weekly, yes.
in Diário de Notícias
every
on
Thursday.
Chinese culture and history. So what can you tell us about this protocol, and if this is a step towards that goal of internationalizing a little bit more?
Well, first of all, it's a project that I'm very proud of. But it's a project that is a few years late. If it wasn't for all the last few years incidents, it would have been already quite a successful project. Macau Daily has worked with Global Media Group. We have signed something last September to start once a week news exchange. If you have a chance to read, it's every Thursday on DN. It's a fact. we're not trying to say what is good, what is bad. It is something on the Chinese culture. Because, as you said, everybody thinks China is a mystery world. We are trying to tell you it's not. We have many thousands of years of culture. We are the only culture that has not stopped from a few thousand years ago till now. So it carries on a lot of different traditions, a lot of different. For example, I can remember the first episode, the first edition was about Moon Festival, which only happened in our world. So we want to explain to people what is Moon Festival about, how the Chinese calendar is calculating from the old method of calculations many thousand years ago. So I think this is a good try, and I hope it can expand, of course, in years to come.
João, you have been doing this for a long time as well already. What can you tell us about what was the response in the Portuguese-speaking countries about these documentaries that you end up exporting?
Well, the feedback we had was good. So it was broadcasted on most countries on prime time, and some of them have rerun the programs. They don't really have. In these countries, they don't really do market research, so they really don't know what the audience was. But the fact that it's broadcasted, for instance, in a country like Angola, by a TV station like TPA, which is national broadcaster, shows that they saw value on it because they have plenty. That actually, TPA has resources; they can purchase programs. They have a quite good machine to produce content, but they choose to broadcast it. Obviously, Angola and China also have a special relation, so I think that's also part of why this happened. But I strongly believe that if we expose people to this kind of documentaries, they will have a better understanding. That's really the key point. And then after documentaries, so educating them, let's inform them. So it's a process. First we educate, then we inform. It's like working with the kids. So first we need to educate our children, and then so that they can be informed later. Two different steps. So first step we are doing it. Second step will come after. And mentioning the more internationalizations, for instance, we. In Portuguese and English combined, we produced an average of 50 to 60 news items per day. It's quite big. Local news or regional news. I mean, Anqing, Greater Bay Area. So we're not talking about sports news. We're not talking about international affairs. No, just this. And we share all this content, of course, on our website. But I believe websites are a little bit like a library, so the book stays there. We also share everything on social media, because social media is the bookstore. You see the book cover. Okay, so if you see the book cover, then you go inside and you get the book. And the social media page we are managing has around 150,000 followers, which is a huge number for Macau, 150,000. And around 60% of those are not in Macau. So we can use other relatively cheap ways to reach a large number of people outside. Of course, we need to build followers. This takes time. Of course, we can make it faster if we pay, but we don't need to pay if we create more content, if we publish content at the right time. So we have been using a lot of, we have been investing in terms of time and use on social media to help us also reach different audiences. And so we are mostly talking about this relation with the Portuguese-speaking countries, but there's a world out there. It's not just Portuguese-speaking countries.
Of course.
There's a world out there. And that world can relate with Macau via the English language, mostly. So if we start thinking about, well, let's just work with Southeast Asia, right? Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, if they want to know something about Macau, they would look for it in English probably. And that's another role that we have, and it needs to be developed, and that there needs to be more investment there in creating English language content that takes also the image of Macau and the Greater Bay Area to this other public, not Portuguese speaking, but English speaking, potentially English speaking public, which then raises more interest on this part of the world, and also helps, because China has always issues with some of these countries, and it also here we can help to bridge that gap, and by showing a little bit what's happening in China.
And has TDM started to tap into that subject with Southeast Asia?
It's hard to say because okay, I can look at analytics, and I know that we have a quite large number of followers, for instance, in Hong Kong, which is normal. Also in Malaysia, Philippines, a little bit in Korea. So that's what the analytics shows me. Also in Nepal, but I think that's probably because there are foreign workers in Nepal here, so probably families are following, trying to understand the thing. But it's a start. They're being exposed. So the thing is, expose people to content. You know, let them see what's happening. Let them understand what's happening around here.
Okay, thank you. We've talked a little bit about content exchange, but you've mentioned prior about the financial sustainability through these global media networks, right? So how can actually global media or any other media can take advantage of these media networks and actually achieve some financial sustainability or just new revenue?
Well, financial sustainability is, well, if your company, not only a media company, I think all businessmen, all company, all entrepreneurs, the first golden rule is you make sure you stay alive, and then you start to try to make money. Media is, especially traditional media, face very big problems with readership, audience, reducing audience, less paper, less magazines being sold. But at the same time, social media has gone up. Basically, in the past, all media were based on either subscriptions, either paper sales, advertisements. Advertisements has grown. Whether you can get it in your pocket is the way where you can determine that you can stay survived and your competitors cannot. It's not only, for example, not only global media, TDM, all the brands will face the same thing. The shops in front of the foundation, the 2-3 coffee shops, if you can stay alive, you need to find ways to make sure that you are better than them. You fit better into your audience mindsets. That's why digitalization, we all say digitalization is the way to go. But how? We need, for example, contents. We need to create contents that people will really go into it. If you have, I'm sure if you have every news that you create on a social media page that lasts 3 to 5 minutes, and the others only had 30 seconds, then you lose. Because people nowadays, the fact is, they like to just flip. They don't care about how good that is. They don't care about how deep they want to know. They just want to know. So if you adapt to that, and then if you create the analytics to show to your clients, and maybe they will then come to you and put the advertisements to you. It's a cruel world. A lot of businesses, a lot of brands will probably die off. But it happens in the media industry. It happens in every part of the business world.
But do you believe there's potential in, for example, having protocols with other media where then you can do commercial?
Definitely, because it creates something that others don't. if you have, for example, a forum that arranged by 2 or 3 different media groups, let's say just Portuguese-speaking countries forum on discussing Cape Verde, Angola, Portugal. And then you create enough noise to make this forum an attractive one. The advertisers, because they want to hit to these people, then they will come and put advertisements, they'll come and sponsor the event. But if you do something that nobody even wants to know, then so it all depends on the content and how you react to the audience mind.
João, do you believe that there is this potential? How do you see in the future that this cooperation can actually happen?
This mutation from old media, traditional media to new media is painful. It costs the same to produce the content to old media and new media. The cost is exactly the same. The time you spend doing it, it's exactly the same. So, there's only one difference, which is probably the cost of distribution is lower on the new media. But what Kevin said is right. People just want to flip. And if you can grab the attention of someone for over 15 seconds, you are a winner. 15 seconds, you are a winner. Most content on social media is not seen much more than 15 seconds. So it needs to be well done. It needs to be appealing. And unfortunately, in TDM, we're not even there, but we are working on it. But the question is how to become relevant and how to, well, two models. There are 2 models. One is if we become relevant enough, advertisement will come. And the other is if we are so relevant that consumers will buy our product, even online, because well, the internet was born with a birth defect, which was it's free. Everything is free, but it costs money to make, and now there has to be a change to tell people that listen, we can't give you everything free. You will have to pay for something.
But now it's difficult to do that.
Yes, because it's a birth defect. Birth defects are difficult to cure, but there's a. I believe that when content is relevant, people will pay for it. If people understand that what they are accessing improves their life, is relevant for the decisions they make, they will pay for it. They'll pay for it. The price can't be very high, but they will be willing to pay something for it. But this is evolving so fast, and there are so many huge operators in the market like Google. Google distributes your brand, your content. You don't make money for it, but Google is doing money. Facebook, the same thing. So I know when I'm using social media, I'm not making money, but they are making money on my behalf. This is so complex that I have no idea how it will evolve and how far this will go. But one thing is certain: if all the content producers, in terms of relevant content, news content, start dying off, there will be no news. If there's no news, we have a much poorer world. People will not know. They will not be informed. And I think there's a moment in which things will flip. And there are different models to do this. So, for instance, governments. Well, Macau is not at that stage of development, but for instance, in the West, governments could create a system in which whatever you pay for online serious media, you can deduct on your tax, for instance. That's a way. In some countries, you can deduct education expenses. Well, why not people to deduct on their collectible income the amount they spend on purchasing content online. Again, relevant content. I'm not talking about Netflix. I'm not talking about Amazon. But media, news media content. So that would be, for instance, one way in which people would like have they would say, oh, I'm putting my money there, but I'm not paying taxes on that. So, and you know, in the West, people are very sensitive to tax. So, I don't know. It's an unknown world. Unknown world.
Kevin, to conclude this debate, what do you think that media in general can do actually, like starting from today, to help this endeavor of internationalizing Macau and promoting Macau in other countries and regions?
First of all, Macau needs to upgrade itself, especially its mindset, to be more international. Macau has been an international city. We have the best infrastructure for tourists. We have the best place for MICE, for exhibitions, for events. All we need is to let everyone knows. And of course, Macau is a free port, so people come in and go out freely. Maybe our airport is a bit smaller, but we have the bridge now. We have the Hong Kong airports, especially the third runway. It opens up a lot of opportunities. Media, if we want to survive, if media industry, people who are with us tonight, if we are in this industry, and if we want to grow and survive and be more sustainable, we need to look for ways to attract more people to come, as you said, more relevant, and then advertisers will come. Put it in a very simple way, if you can attract a place, your audience, or a particular show, a particular piece of article, or particular a show in TDM, documentary, can attract, for example, people, let's say, the cruise tourists, the Silver Age, that has money to spend, that will want to come. I'm sure our all concessionaires will be dying to put advertisement in your show. So it's just the matter of whether you can hit to the right target audience. And as media, it's a painful process. We like to say the good old days, but the good old days are gone. So we need to find new ways to make sure that we can adapt to the new economy, to the new environment. Media is no different to a cafe. So I think to survive and to grow.
Okay, and João, do you share the same opinion? Do you have any other remarks that you would like to do?
No, I think it is indeed going to be a difficult process. Someone will have to stay here. Someone will have to continue to produce content. But sometimes I fear diversity will die out because smaller media may disappear in this process. They will not be able to cope with the demands of this new economy in terms of production and distribution of news content. So I think we're going to lose a little bit of diversity. There will be concentration, so companies will aggregate different media and operating on, for instance, a single newsroom to produce content. This has already happened, actually. So a newsroom would produce video, photo, text, sound, everything before they just write, or they just photo. So there has to be also from our side, from the media professionals, those who do news, the capacity to understand that times are changing. The good old times are definitely gone. Yep, definitely gone. And to stay out there and stay alive, we need to adapt to this new reality.
Okay, thank you. So I think that now we can open the debate to the public. Let's first start with the people that are here in Fundação Rui Cunha, if anyone has questions, and then we can go to social media. No one?
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'm very delighted to assist this debate. Very interesting debate. Both of João and Kevin were very clear about the insights about the global networks reality. But there is a question. A question is very unfair, I know. It's very difficult too, but how can a person from Angola, Wambo, let's face, to have some interest on the Great Bay Area? Okay, it is the reality. This is the reality because the true sense of Portuguese Channel in Macau is to effectively channel the knowledge about China to the Portuguese speaking countries and vice versa, of course, and to establish communications with those countries in the benefit of China. But then how can we do that? You see, nowadays we are lacking in Portuguese-speaking journalists, with due respect, of course, with due respect of the 4 bilingual professionals who were recently hired. Okay, they were doing a very good job. But is that enough? Is that enough to really capture the interest, the attention of people from Wambo? I'm speaking Wambo. It can be another place. Okay, but is that really enough? Because I think that what attracts people is a common ground, and common ground has to be culture. So TDM has this mission to convey to these countries what is going on here in Macau culturally, right? So how can we? What strategies, if there is any, now in this right time? Thank you.
If you allow me, well, you ask if it's enough. No, it's not enough, obviously. I can't say it's enough because it's not. It's a step. It's a step. And I agree with you that dissemination of culture is incredibly important. So, and that's why we choose documentaries. We don't choose movies. We don't choose drama series. Drama series can be very interesting, you know, like a soap opera. People follow it. But probably that's not the best way. Probably that's not the best way. And we are not just doing this with mainland-made documentaries. We're also doing that with CRED-DM documentaries. And for instance, one of the things that brings people together across the world is food. We have, over the years, produced 2 very interesting series about Macanese food. They have been broadcasted. They have been broadcasted in Mozambique, Angola, Cape Verde. So, you know, and as you know, better than many here, Macanese food is also part of their food. Because some of the ingredients, you know, they were brought from those countries. So that's one way to create this common ground, to show them that what we eat here in Macau is also part of what they eat, because we share, due to our history, something that is common, that comes together. Also, another documentary that we share is a series about Macau architecture. Again, it's the language of buildings. That also, I believe, also helps to bring people together, to see magnificent buildings and to understand why they were built in that way. So we are doing this with mainland produced documentaries and also with Macau produced and for instance, we also share something which is, I think, one of the best documentaries that we have made over the years, the history of Dr. O, so the life story of Stanley O. because Stanley O is known in all of these countries. Wherever you go, they know. They know who he was, or they have an idea that he's Mr. Macau. And so by giving out the rights to broadcast this documentary, we also, in a way, show how Macau became what it is today, because he's part of this long decades history of changing in Macau. So everything is a step. Nothing is enough. We will never reach in a very pragmatic and realistic way. We'll never get there. We'll never get there. But each step brings us closer.
Kevin, do you like to add anything?
Well, I just want to respond to a point where when you said, why would a person in Rwanda wants to know about Greater Bay Area? In natural sense, of course they don't. But if they know that Greater Bay Area will create something for him, let's say if he is a tradesperson, if he's a fisherman, that if he knows this place will buy 80% of his products, then he will naturally wants to know. If he is planning on, if he's a tech guy, or if he's into, for example, electric cars, if he knows Shenzhen is the biggest manufacturer, BYD's hometown is in Shenzhen, which is in the Greater Bay Area, he will want to know. Our country has been very shy to promote ourselves over the years. Let's say if anyone who has tried our high-speed train, we have never really advertised it and really tell the world that the railway system in China is so advanced now. And if the person in Angola is a government person who is looking at the new railway system, maybe they want to come and have a look. I'm sure our Portuguese leader would like to come and experience our high-speed train, because they have been talking about the Lisbon-Porto train for so many years. And look at UK, look at USA. I don't see any of this happening for the past centuries, decades. So we need to promote ourselves. We need to be more outspoken. Media will need to play a part in terms of documentaries. We need to show people what Greater Bay Area has to serve. Food is a very good starting point, because Guangzhou is the city of food. So using this to attract more people to come, using Macau's food via Macau as a hub, I think this is how we should start to build ourselves to be.
Thank you very much for the pertinent question. Anyone else would like to ask something?
Hi, I have some questions about content, because actually media is not only about languages, it's also about content. The job of journalists is to deliver information and content. I remember last month when I joined GCS to go to Beijing for a course in the Renmin University. Some journalists from Beijing and some professors from Renmin universities, they bring out an idea, because they have their own responsibility in China to promote China to other countries as well. But they said in their experience for this so many years, especially when they promote Communist Party to other countries, they said that it's very difficult if you use your own way, your own Chinese culture to promote your own country. So it is very important for them to understand what foreigners want to see, want to know, and how to attract foreigners to understand, or attract the foreigners to want to understand our country. So one professor said something quite interesting, but of course not everyone agree with him. He said in the foreign world, they think China is very conservative country. That's why they don't want to they don't want to know too much information about China. And that's why they bring out an idea that if we report something with the topics more open-minded, probably we can change the idea of the image of China in the foreigners' eyes. He brought out one idea or example is like the LGBTQ topic. He said, like, if you think it is a taboo, the foreigners won't be interested in your news. So I would like to know your opinions about content, like which kind of content we make can attract more foreigners' eyes and to attract them to understand more about our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's a very a good topic to discuss on. Well, first of all, this is where Macau can show its uniqueness. Macau is part of China. We are a special administrative region, but we face to the world. So it's not that Communist Party is a term that we have been very scared to mention in the past. But the only way that we are scared to mention in the past because we don't understand the real Communist Party that we are governing our country today. China Communist Party or communism in the Western world has its own way of over so many years because the old communist way is from the Soviet Union's. The way that our country, China, is operating now is the Chinese way of socialism. It's not 100% what people are scared of, but we have not been we have not been promoting it well because we're scared. We need to be more confident, especially our country should be more confident to tell people. But now, because the last few years, with all these different regional pressures from the Western world, from all different allies, it's hard because even if you are willing to create content to tell, you have to make sure they will publish it. They will not. So we need to grow step by step. The way that I did the global media with Macau Daily is a good way to start using facts and cultures to tell people what we are now. As John mentioned, the person who can tell whether their own country is good or not is our own citizens. We have never, over the past few thousand of years, please tell me, who has China invaded to? Has the Chinese one day fight against anyone in outside of China? No. Why do Westerners create the image that we are a threat? Has we ever been a threat? We have been threatened by many people for many years, but we have never threatened any particular person, any particular country. So I think we need to be more not too shy to tell people about what we have achieved. I'm not saying the Chinese way of socialism that we are working in our country is the best system in the world, but it's the best system for our country. All countries has its own problems, has its own systems that fits their people, their citizens. But I think what we are now with a country that's only 75 years old, with the achievement that we have achieved till now, I think it's worth to tell the others. But as you said, if people from mainland create content, they doesn't talk to the Western world. They don't know how to. They will write something that no one reads. And this is where we in Macau should take up this responsibility and do something that is understandable by the West, written by us, but we need to know the real truth of what you're going to write. I think this is something that the Macau media people can work closer to our mainland allies, and then to create something that we can show to the world.
João, would you like to add anything?
In these documentaries that I mentioned that we selected, especially in the last few, in this second stage, the majority of them are about science, technology. We have a China at high speed. It's about high-speed rail, so 3 episodes. So most of this, it's either about nature, science, culture. Because I don't, well, and there is a political documentary also, a series of, which is Xi Jinping's Strategy of Government, 3 episodes. Because people also need to know how things are done and why they are done, and what is the mindset behind all these achievements. So all these documentaries, they were chosen to tell a story from the beginning to the end. So there is history, there's culture, there's nature, there is scientific progress, and there is a political idea behind that scientific progress. So it was Xi Jinping's Strategy of Government, produced by the State Council Information Office, is a documentary which helps people outside understand the policies, how decisions are made, and what is the plan, what is the strategy going forward. So this first set, and we will continue hopefully with this project, will in the future help people better understand this. So this was our idea. This is how it should be done. Culture, nature, science, and the political idea behind all this.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Do we have anything from social media? No? Okay, then I think we can, sorry? Okay, then I think we can conclude this debate. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you. No, pleasure.
Yes, very good.